story that must be told. Here's a little story from beginning to end. Here's a little story that must be told. Here's a little story that must be told. Here's a little story that must be told. Here's a little story from beginning to end. Here's a little story that must be told. Here's a little story that must be told. Here's a little story that must be told. Here's a little story from beginning to end.
What's good, people? Welcome to another episode of I Gotta Do This Podcast Real Quick. I'm your host, Wise, a.k.a. Hambone Jones, a.k.a. your cool ass homie. And, it's been a minute since I've been, back on the mic. I had to step away, handle some family business. Nothing bad, nothing negative, but also nothing I can go into right now. But, eventually I'll be able to talk about, the gap period between the last episode and this one. But yeah, other than that though, I apologize for being away, but, hopefully I'll be able to find a better schedule in putting this out. In all honesty, like I said the last time, I miss being on the mic. I miss being able to talk to you guys and, put out what's been going on, what's been my thoughts, because a lot of stuff happened, since the last time I did an episode. And, whether it was this whole Drake and Kendrick, the Drake and Kendrick, what is it? The lawsuit. Matter of fact, I take that back. It's not the Drake and Kendrick lawsuit. It's Drake's lawsuit against UMG. So I misspoke there, my bad. But, his level of petty, the Clips dropping their album, which was fucking fantastic. I'm still listening to that shit right now, like the shit just came out. Raekwon, The Emperor's New Clothes, that shit is fucking hard as hell. Like, I feel like it's a real good time for music, or at least the music that I like. Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist, that Alfredo 2 is fucking crazy as hell. Slick Rick's album was tremendous, and in all honesty, I wasn't even checking for Slick Rick. Like, bro, what? Who came out with an album? My homeboy told me that. I was like, yeah, I see what's up with it. I heard that shit and was like, why the fuck didn't I know Slick Rick was coming out with an album? But yeah, you had that stuff going on. NCAA dropped. The new Madden dropped, and we are back in football season, the best time of the year to me. So, a lot of stuff, like I said, a lot of stuff transpired, while I had my time away though, I was paying attention to, more of the sports that's been happening. And I'm looking at this situation with the Cowboys and Micah Parsons, like, they don't want to do a contract with this man, or I guess they want him to play out his last year on this contract. And, I'm not going to sit up here and be like, man, he under contract still, he got another year. But, the man want his guarantees. And honestly, I feel him on that. And if we can't come to an agreement, or at least begin talks of that, then trade me out, my nigga, and put me on another team. Because it's not like people ain't lining up to get Micah Parsons. Like, come on, Micah Parsons, he may not have been able to, I guess, fully produce the way they wanted him to on the Cowboys, but he by no means is a scrub at all. He actually one of the top defenders in the league, and I'm all for him trying to get his money. You know what I'm saying? Like, they fucking off with that. But sad to say, the Cowboys do have the upper hand in the situation, because he is under contract for another year, so they don't have to do a contract per se right now anyway. Plus, he can be franchise tag. So that's another 2 years, and I think they could use the tag on him twice. So essentially, for another 2 seasons, they could potentially go without doing a contract for him, and it sucks. But unfortunately, that's the lay of the land. That's how the contracts and everything out there work. And even with him sitting out a season, that's not really gonna change much because you're gonna find yourself right back in this situation. Plus, you lost money doing this. So, it's pretty bad how they structure these contracts with these football players, and for them to be out there putting themselves on the line, you would think that they would try to take care of the people that took care of them, that stopped them from being just the bottom of the league, you know what I'm saying, or the bottom of your division. Because even though the Cowboys haven't been to the Super Bowl since '96, they still weren't scrubs. But at the same time, you let the rest of the division get better. Like, at the very least, they could always look and say, we got to worry about the Eagles, and that's it. Now you got to look at the Commanders. Now you got to look at the Giants. So, they put themselves in a bad position, or at least the front office. You know what I'm saying? Like, they kind of put themselves in a bad position by not making sure that the players that we need or should be growing are taken care of. Because if they mad, if they disgruntled, if they not feeling like they're being valued, what make you think that they finna put they all out on the line every Thursday, Sunday, or Monday for you? Like, that don't make sense to me. You take care of the people that get you to where you are, or the popularity that you have, and make sure that they're good. But yeah, so that just that's just one part of it. Still not sure what's going on with the Terry McLaurin situation in Washington. I, to be honest, know that they haven't come to a contract agreement with him because he wanted an extension as well, and I feel like it's deservedly so. Like, despite having bullshit at quarterback until Jaden Daniels came, he was still producing. He was still having 1,000-yard seasons with bum ass niggas that you really can't tell me who was on the team. Like, in all reality, between RG3 and Jaden Daniels, I can only think of maybe Kirk Cousins and I think Sam Howell were the quarterbacks for the Commanders. You name me some other quarterbacks from that team, and Terry McLaurin still made magic happen. So that's why I'm like, take care of the people that took care of you. I see it as a situation kind of like Draymond is to Golden State. Like, there may not be a huge market for him outside of the team, but what he does for the team is something that's more valuable or just as valuable as having Steph Curry on your team. You know what I'm saying? Like, they play the roles that are like major support, because if it wasn't for Draymond, the Warriors wouldn't have been as successful as they were. And it's not that Washington had success like that, but at the very least, he put up numbers. He kept them out of worse situations. And hell, I can't talk. I mean, I'm a Jags fan, through and through, and we haven't been that good, in all honesty. And even now, like, people look at us like the ground is shaky. So I can look at a team and kind of see like, maybe y'all might want to look into taking care of that person. Because the thing with us, we hadn't had consistency on top of bad decisions. So when you have consistency on the team, at the very least, you can establish some type of connection and build some type of blueprint or game plan around your consistent players or your consistent plays that you have in your pocket. When you start changing everything, especially for somebody like Jaden Daniels. Now, I'm not gonna say that he's not talented, cause shit, he did all of that, taking them to the NFC Championship in his rookie year. But for him to continue on that path and growth, in my honest opinion, I don't think you should change much. You try to keep what you can intact for him to continue that growth. And one of those things to keep intact for the continuity, the consistency, was Terry McLaurin at receiver. I felt like he was a big part of getting them there too. Of course, Jaden Daniels is a damn quarterback, so he gonna get all of the credit, all of the attention for it. But he couldn't do it without the help of him. So I don't feel like they should pass up on that. They should, try to keep that connection going. They should definitely try to, hold on, because I'm rooting for him. I ain't gonna lie to you. I am not lying. Like, I really want to see Jaden Daniels do his thing. And it's nothing against the Eagles, because fuck with them too. But for Washington, that'll be a good thing. Now, of course, that's on the NFC side of the ball. With the AFC, as much as I would love to say I want my team to do that, I don't think we will. I feel like we'll have a good season. I'm not gonna lie. I think if anything, we could get a wild card spot, because I think that they overhyping Cam Ward with the Titans. I feel like the Titans had way more issues than just the quarterback. Oh, we're going to plug him in and he going to fix everything. Nah. For one, he's a rookie. So that's a lot to put on the rookie. And again, I just talked about Jaden Daniels, and even C.J. Stroud had a phenomenal rookie year. But come on. Nah, that's still the Titans. They had more issues that I don't feel were addressed to, even set him up for success in that situation. And then outside of that, hell no. The only competition I feel like we would have, and should have is the Texans. Like, I don't see Indianapolis pulling nothing out the hat. I don't see the Titans doing that hot because of these situations. But for us, the Texans the only people that I see in this division. So, AFC South, be on lookout. I'm saying it right here. Jacksonville is getting the wild card spot at least. Shoot. But yeah, it's still just the preseason though. I'm waiting for this real season to come in so I can really talk my shit. I'm still trying to debate on whether I want to play fantasy football this year. I didn't last year, but I did the year before. And I might jump in. Might be a random league though, but I might jump in and do that. What else, man? I got a Raspberry Pi. For people that's not familiar with that, it's a single board computer. The normal ones are about the size of a credit card. The one I have is a Raspberry Pi 02, and it's probably half the size of that. It's like, it almost looks like the size of a key fob, but it's an actual computer. So I just pretty much turned that into a retro game emulator. Just got through adding my Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis games to it, and still trying to trick it out, do a few little things before I call it quits, because essentially that's my emulator console. Like, I end up getting this controller off of Amazon for my PlayStation. But I'm using it for the emulator, and it worked pretty good, pretty smooth. So I'm really getting into that again. I had like a bunch of them like back in the day, but that's when they were like cheap. Like I think the Raspberry Pi 3 when that was hot, I think that was like $35. The shit now, like because of like tariffs and even matter of fact during the pandemic, the scarcity of some of the microchips they needed for the board and everything, when they were going through that shortage, the prices of those went up, but they never came back down. The little small Pi Zero that I have, it was like what, $15, and that's typically the price that you would see for those. Like, well, actually, those used to be $5, but yeah, 15. I'm like, okay, that's cool, because you can do whatever you want with them. But I want a Pi 4, and I think the Pi 4s are like 80 or something like that. It's a little much now, and as cool as I think the concept is of learning how to code, having the open source, being able to pretty much make projects or make your own mini PC off of it, I think that I thought that premise was cool, but now it's like, I guess because the popularity has grown with it, they like, okay, how can we get this money? And it no longer went from being just a small hobby, or it's no longer a small hobby. Now it's okay, if you buy one of these, you got an intended purpose for it, and we gonna cash out on that. So yeah, it is what it is. But with my Pi, like I said, it's I'm just building a emulator system pretty much. So far I have the Super Nintendo ROMs, the Nintendo collection. I have the Sega, what is it? Sega Mega Drive collection, Nintendo 64, and I just added my PS1 games. I might tap out after that because I'm not sure how it handles like Dreamcast emulator. I know it won't run the PS2 emulator at all. I'm not even gonna try that. I might blow that little shit up if I do that. So I might try the Dreamcast side out and see how good it works, because the only games I'm even looking at for the Dreamcast side are all fighting games. So that doesn't I'm not gonna lose it if I can't play any of those. Let me see. I did want to see what the not Dreamcast, I'm sorry, the Sega Saturn side of it is like, because I played like a few games on Sega Saturn, but I can't say that I'm that familiar with the system. Yeah, so that might actually be something that I look into with that. But again, I don't know how it runs Sega Saturn emulation, to be real with you. Yeah. So this Clips album though, Let God Sort 'Em Out. Man, man, man. When I tell you, I still listen to that shit like it's brand new, like it just came out last Friday. And I don't know, I'm happy with it. You know what I'm saying? Beforehand, I was like, I don't know if it's a classic. I felt like it's a little too soon to call it that. I do want to give it time to kind of see how it hold up. But honest to God, I done listened to that shit more times than anything, and that's a lot to say as of late, because there's been a lot of good shit coming out. Now, since Raekwon and Raekwon and Freddie Gibbs came out though, that did get added into my rotation. But Clips album still holding strong. I talked to my cousin about it, and she told me that she felt like the album was overrated. And I felt like somebody shot me in my chest. I was like, oh no, cuz not you. She felt like Pharrell's production was a little subpar. And granted, I can admit that we've heard better from Pharrell, but what we've gotten from him over the last like 5 to 6 years ain't been nothing worth talking about either. Like in my head, this probably some of the hardest shit he did, in a minute. But she didn't say the album was bad. She just think it was overrated, and to an extent, I can kind of see that. I think it was more of just the image of the Clips coming back because we heard them on the Kanye album together. So it's just like, yeah, why these niggas ain't doing nothing no more? Blah blah blah. So. But that album is the shit though, in my opinion. I don't give a fuck. Like I loved the first track, "Birds Don't Sing" with John Legend. Crazy. Like the song talks about like the last conversations and moments that they had with their parents. Like for Push, it was him and his mom when he was talking about going somewhere with Kanye. And his mom was like, come home for Thanksgiving. And he was like, nah. So, he talked about that situation. And then Malice came in talking about their dad. Like, if I heard it correctly, I think he found his dad dead. But, it was just, it was a deep song. And that's what you kicked your album off with. Like, as hard as that album was, the underlying message of it was them processing their grief that they had about their parents. And I thought it was genius. It was amazing. That Chains and Whips though, like crazy. That shit is amazing. Kendrick did his thing on it. He sounded good with the Clips. And even the song that followed it, POV, with Tyler the Creator, crazy collaboration. And Pharrell made all this shit. This sounded like the magic that I wanted back in rap music. Now, granted, these are older rappers, so it's not to say, oh, the future of rap is safe again, because, these niggas is grown. These niggas is on a different, time of day to where I'm not going to expect a bunch out of them. Like, if anything, I might see one more Clips album, but that's about it. Like, they not going, I don't see them kicking it back in the space again for like the next 10 to 15 years. That ain't finna happen, or at least I don't think it will. I would love to see it happen, but again, that's not the future. But yeah, like while we got it though, I love it. I love every moment of that album, and it's like I can't play one song and then just leave it at that. If I'm listening to one song, believe I'm listening to the whole album right after that. Oh, well, not right after that, like in that same playlist. Like it's just gonna go on to the next one. That Raekwon is hard as shit too. Like the Emperor's New Clothes. Him and Ghostface on every track that they're on together shines. Like it's crazy to me how these are the rappers that I grew up with, grew up listening to. You know what I'm saying? Like I grew up listening to Wu-Tang. I grew up listening to the Clips. And then you turn around and hear these dudes like, well, in Raekwon case, like he's been dropping and Push has been dropping too. But you look at the amount, like all of that together, like the amount of time that they've been doing it, and you just look like, damn, they used to spit to us that rapping was a young man's game. You know, like it's for the youth. It's for, younger audience. But you got these niggas still out here hanging with these young dudes and kind of passing them. And it's just a wonder to me. This is why I can't completely turn my back on it, because the people that I was listening to as a kid are still rapping, and they just as good, if not better. So, because on that same Raekwon album, the song with Nas, what's it, the Amarita, I think that's what it's called. Oh my god, the beat is crazy. I gotta see who made the beat, but Nas spazzed on that beat. Nas lost it. Oh man, when I tell you Nas went off on that, it was crazy. And you appreciate that type of stuff because, again, these are veteran rappers. Like, you got the Wu-Tang on one side, and then you got the Clips on the other side. Like, these dudes are in there, they're 40 plus. None of these dudes is in their 30s. I don't want to say 50s because I don't believe Push and Malice is that old, but I know Raekwon is, and they just doing that shit like they did back in their 20, like they did 30 years ago. Like, it's no problem for them to just get in there and just cook it up real quick. It's crazy. So you had those albums, and right now I'm currently listening to the Jid album, God Does Like Ugly. Now, I have mixed feelings on it, but I can't quite give a full assessment on it because I haven't fully listened to the whole album yet. Like, right now, I'm probably midway through listening to the album, and I realize the version that I'm listening to isn't wasn't the original release. It's a version on Spotify called the Prelux edition. And what I think it is was an EP that he came out with before the album and the album together. So I'm like eight tracks in, and I think with that EP plus the album, I think it boosted to 19 tracks. So I'm kind of in the middle of it, but what I heard so far has been in and out. Like, I like one song, but then I'm not really feeling the other song. And I like Jid. You know what I'm saying? I support Dreamville. You know what I'm saying? I really like them niggas. But I don't know. I got mixed feelings about this one. And everybody that's listened to the whole album, that I've talked to about it, they would say the album doesn't end the way that it starts. So they telling me to stick with it, just finish out the album. Trust me, you'll like it. And again, it's not that he's not spitting. It's just that I don't feel like it's cohesion in the album. Like, I don't know if it's the version I'm listening to, which like I said, I'm gonna finish it out, and then I'll look and see for the original album to see if that changes anything. But it just feel like he got a bunch of beats right now and he just rapping on them. Like, don't get me wrong, he spitting it, he killing that shit. But like I said, I don't feel like there's a flow to it right now. But that's just where it stands right now. I plan on, like I said, going and listening to the full situation to give it an actual assessment, because like I said, I like them. I like the first album. I like the Da Vinci and all of that. So, I wanna be able to be like, all right, let me hear this out. Because even with me feeling like I felt about Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, like, I did give that album a full listen before, I kind of gave my assessment on that. So, man, that Freddie and Alchemist, like, I don't know what I expected from it, but it definitely didn't disappoint. It definitely made me feel Alfredo, like, like he just picked up and started that shit again. Like this was like part two of the sessions. And I mean, Freddie and Alchemist just they just go good together. That's the I can't even get my head together to talk about this. That album blew my mind. Like, I know you probably feeling like you a little too passionate about this. Nah, man, nah. I feel like I'm finally getting some good ass music, and I'm happy about it. You know, like I haven't listened to. I did kind of fall off on Freddie for a little bit because of his side shit that he got going on when he not rapping. His little beefs with Jim Jones and Benny the Butcher. It's just like all that stuff started taking over to me, and I didn't really peep like I think his last project or the project before that one. Like I haven't listened to Freddie in a bit before this, but coming back to hear Alfredo, it just going in at that point, that time, I felt like I ain't missed nothing. I felt like I ain't missed a step. Like I think the last project I did hear was the first Alfredo. So leaving off there and then coming back into Alfredo 2, listening to that, I was like, well, shit. Okay, I don't feel like Fred missed the beat. I don't feel like I missed nothing major on his side that he dropped. You know what I'm saying? But the shit was amazing. Of course, Alchemist laced them up, with some nice beats, and Freddie delivered on the beats. I don't have any gripe with this album. I don't have any issue with it. Again, it's another one that I feel like could be a pretty good contender. I still think G and X more than likely is gonna be album of the year, or rap album of the year. But I feel like Kendrick got some competition that came out in that time too. So we'll see. We'll see though. I'm not big on the award show situation anyway. So I don't put too much stock into how many Grammys somebody got or rap album of the year, all of that. Like I don't get into that, but that's not to take away from the achievement that somebody gets for it. So, like I said, I think he might have some competition looking at all the stuff that's come out. Yeah, so still no good news on Dragon Ball's return. I personally don't think it's gonna come back, or at least Super is gonna come. I don't think Super is gonna come back because right now, where they are with trying to figure out who has the rights to the animation and the manga, like it's just getting too ugly. And Dragon Ball is such a big property to the point to where I guess that stuff would matter. I just find it crazy that Toriyama didn't, specify who had what. And I think that's where all of this confusion is coming from. So I don't think we'll be getting that, which 9 times out of 10 would mean that the manga wouldn't get a anime adaptation, which means we'll never get those manga characters in any game or anything like that, because I don't think it's gonna happen until they get it animated. So it sucks, man, because I love Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Daima, and even the little stepchild GT was okay. That's like my favorite anime. It was my first exposure to an anime show. Because, like I said, I am an anime fan, but I'm used to movies. And again, growing up in the 90s, the closest that we had to watching anime on a consistent basis was Toonami. So all before then, you would have to either look at like sci-fi channels, know people who had VHS tapes. Like, you had to go through kind of some shady means to watch anime back in the 90s, before Toonami. So that was really, like I said, Dragon Ball Z was really like one of my first introductions to watching animated shows from Japan. Like I said, movies, yeah, I was a pro by that point, but series, nah. So, I got a deep affinity for Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball, because I grew up with it. So, of course, I have a stronger attachment. And looking at the state of where it's at now, it bothers me. It really, really bothers me. Because here you have such great storylines, and it ended off on a note where we were breaking into new territory, and Toriyama dies unexpectedly, and nobody plans for stuff like that because you don't know when it'll happen or how it'll happen. So it's understandable, but after that, everything just kind of went into disarray. Like, granted, we got our games. Daima came out, but with the continuation of Dragon Ball Super, like, where are we with that? We can't get it back because you guys are fighting over the rights. We don't know who has what or who wants to work with this person or take credit. Because what I feel is going to have to happen for it to come back, somebody has to be the bigger person in the situation, whether it's Toei Animation or what's the shit called? Because I don't think it's Toei. I think it's shoot. I don't know how to say it, but I don't know how to say it, but I think it's between them, the S people, Shueisha or something like that. Excuse me. It was either them or the guy who went and made the Capsule Corporation. I think it's between them, and it sucks because we're left in the middle with nothing. We don't have anything because you guys are fighting. And when shit like that happens, the popularity goes down. It nosedives. The situation with, the demand for it, that nosedives because it's not coming. Or the longer it sits out, the more patience people tend to lose with it. So, in my opinion, if y'all want people to jump back on it, if y'all want people to be hyped for it, come back to it. Come back to it. Figure something out. Shit, Sony and Marvel did it for fucking Spider-Man. Y'all should be able to make something happen. And speaking of, I been in the movies lately. Did go see Fantastic Four with the old lady, and it was good. I really liked it. It was refreshing to go into a Marvel movie and not have to have seen all of this stuff before, like doing the homework. Like, you could just go straight in there with zero knowledge of the MCU and enjoy the movie. Now, I think that Marvel movies are enjoyable even with that, but this one was different because it didn't have any ties to anything just yet. And I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to do a spoiler. So, but it does bring up the question of where do they move from this point though? Because it was a disjointed movie, like away from the main MCU, what's going to happen moving forward? So, that's one of the questions that I took from it. But I liked how they gave us a depiction of the Fantastic Four without a major origin overhaul or anything like that. Like, they touched on how they got their powers in the movie, but that wasn't, the center of the movie. And then also seeing, the birth of Franklin Richards was cool too. Like every iteration of the Fantastic Four that we've gotten, on TV so far hasn't been with the kids. So, with Franklin being born, eventually we gonna get what's her name, Valeria, down the way. So, anxious to see that when they finally bring that into the MCU. And I want to see how this ties in with Doomsday. Now, we're supposed to get, I believe, Spider-Man between Fantastic Four and Doomsday or something like that. So we'll see if that, would shed any light on the situation or, give us something else to look forward to. We also saw Weapons on Friday. And that was a weird movie. I thought it was going to be a horror movie, but I don't consider it a horror movie. It did have a few jump scares, but it was crazy. That's all I can say. One thing that I liked about that movie as well too. Again, no spoilers. I'm not gonna spoil it. The way that they told the story in the movie, it was told from the perspective of a few characters, and what it did was it was almost like watching a different movie every time, because while they showed the intersection between the characters, like when they show where their paths crossed, they also filled in gaps in the story. So you'll have one character lay out the foundation for the whole situation in the scenario. Then it goes to the next character, which they may be on the opposite side of what you just saw, but it's all filling in the gaps. You see the situations as they occur from the first side of the story and theirs. So it does that for a few characters until they get to a certain point of the movie, and then everything just goes forward from there when it all ties. But it was a good movie. It was good. It was a little weird. Well, I ain't gonna say a little weird, because I still felt like I left that movie with more questions than I had coming in, and I had zero knowledge of this movie before I bought the movie tickets for it. Like, I went and looked at a trailer for the movie after I got the tickets, because I know Ty wanted to see it. So I was like, okay, well, we gonna go see it, because, we do it for Bay. But, man, that shit was crazy. That's all I can say about it. But again, good movie. Good movies that's in the theater right now. So, I suggest going out, whether it's a date night or, you just chilling on your own, go to the movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, spend some time out there. Try to, bring that movie theater feel, that movie night feeling back. Because when we went, it was packed. It was packed. People were out there. Now, don't get me wrong. I know, COVID didn't disappear. But, I feel like at this stage, it's going to be around like the cold. So I don't want to continue to live, being afraid of going out and doing stuff like I used to. Because, life has changed since the pandemic. And there's a lot of things that I wouldn't do that I used to do. But going to the movies is something that I don't want to change. I want to be able to still hold memories of, seeing new stuff in the theaters. Because I missed out on the Avengers Endgame and Infinity War like experience in the movies. I missed out on that heavy. And I hear all the time like, yo, you didn't go see not Secret Wars. You didn't go see Endgame in the movie theater. You didn't go see Infinity War. Oh man, when Tony Stark, I probably would have cried in the movies if I saw that shit. Because everybody keeps saying how that was an experience. And my thing was, I don't ever want to miss that again. I don't want to be out, and I'm 38. I'll be 39 in soon. And I can't say that in my 20s I've had movie experiences like that. Like I did growing up, like high school, but I feel like in the last like few years I've started to get that back. And I had to credit my baby for that. She be down for going to the movies. She into well, try to be into somewhat of the stuff that I like, and I appreciate that. So I feel like I have to pay that same situation forward. So it pained me because, like I said, I didn't know anything about weapons. I thought it was gonna be the scariest shit I ever seen in my life because me trying to be super boyfriend. She told me her favorite movie was Hereditary, and I didn't know anything about Hereditary because scary movies ain't my jam. That's not my realm, but I'm not against watching them. So I'm like, okay, bet. If that's your favorite scary movie, we gonna watch it. Not thinking that, this is her realm. She loves scary movies. She watches scary movies or seen scary movies that I've never heard of or even knew existed. So I'm not looking at it from the standpoint of, oh yeah, she might like some real crazy twisted shit. I'm thinking, I bet I can handle it. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing but a movie. Man, after I watched Hereditary, I promise you, I went to sleep watching like Kim Possible or Lilo and Stitch, the animated series, every night for about maybe 2-3 weeks. Like that shit scared me straight. Like I couldn't watch nothing remotely dark. Everything I had to watch had to be animated or extremely like just ridiculous comedy. I think I picked The Office back up because of that show. I mean, because of that movie. So, yeah, I was like thinking when it came down to weapons, I'm like, here we go. I think I done signed up for some shit that I wasn't ready for. And I think going in with that expectation made the movie not so scary to me. So, but it was a pretty crazy story. And that's what I was hoping that it had. Like with anything, if you give me a great storyline or at least a good or decent storyline, I can hold on to that through through my nerves. Because it's just like with spicy stuff. Don't give me some food that's spicy just for the sake of being spicy. You know what I'm saying? Give me some shit that's got some flavor to it, and I'll be able to endure the kick. I'll be able to endure the heat that comes with it because it has a flavor. But if it's hot just for the sake of being hot, I don't want that shit. Just like the scary movies. Like, if it's just scary for the sake of being scary or just being crazy, I don't want that shit. I'm good. I'm okay. So, but yeah, so like I said, moving forward though, I am gonna do better about trying to balance out this time of me not putting out episodes and me actually getting on the mic to do these episodes. Like I got some stuff cooking. Like I'm telling you, like it's coming up on my guest season now. I got people lined up that's down and ready to do the pods. It's more so just trying to find the time to do it. Like trying to, for me, set out time to do it, for them trying to line up and do it with them because everybody's time is just, their schedules are different. And it's understandable, especially with the way that this podcast is being done right now. Eventually I do want to move over into doing the live feed, so y'all can, see your boy and I get a chance to actually show my reactions. Like even with me streaming, I haven't I haven't been able to. Well, I ain't gonna say I haven't been able to stream, but I refused to stream because I wasn't doing the podcast. And to me, the podcast is first. Streaming, is a cool thing to do. It's a nice little outlet, but if I'm not putting out my main media, I don't want to, dip into something else and really make it look like I gave up on this, because that's not the case. Now, granted, it is a lot easier for me to stream. Shit. In the time that I was away from the pod, there were situations that I could have streamed, but I'd rather be able to have a conversation first. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather be able to talk about what's going on. I'd rather be able to put out the podcast and then stream as a supplement to the podcast. Because maybe something I say during the stream will have you like, oh, snap. Or maybe something I put up on the screen is just like, oh, shit, let me check out the episode. Or something like that. I want to get back into doing my interludes. Like, I think I only dropped 2. So I gotta do more with those. It's a lot coming. And I got some big news coming really, really, really soon. And like I said, I can't talk about it right now. But trust me, it's something big, and it's life changer. You know what I'm saying? It's life changer for the good, and I want to be able to share that with y'all when the time is right. But I definitely appreciate everybody that's still rocking with your boy, everybody that pulled up to listen to this episode. And again, I know it's been a minute, but your boy is back. And thank you for just pulling up and chilling with the homie. Your cool ass homie Wise. And thank you for listening to another episode of I Gotta Do This podcast real quick.